Hey, Sir Chief, welcome to Liberty by Trade. You're lucky enough to be guests number 3 and 4. Really excited to have you both here, especially together. I know with ever increasingly shrinking schedules, we don't have a lot of time. I'm sure we could absolutely get a full episode with each of you, but I think the beauty of having you guys here together is you pretty much started command and command chief time together, and are essentially ending it together. So this is sort of our Vasco and Jamie intro and outro. But to start off, do you want to walk us through kind of your first days here, I guess summer of 2020 at the Liberty Wing in command as a team? Either one of you can start.
My first days, go back to 2018. So I'll let Jamie take this one.
Yeah, so we got here, Jessica and I, and with Wyatt, got here shortly after the boss had taken command. Me and the prior command chief, Mark Cholkoff, were pretty good friends, and he asked, "Hey, can I have change of command?" I'm like, "Absolutely, dude. You've been the command chief here." So he did the change of command, and then we got here about 10 days afterwards. It was in the middle of COVID, so we go straight into 14-day quarantine. So that kind of expanded how long between me and the boss getting to do stuff together. But then quickly, got in sync with each other and kind of started our thing.
Nice. And how would you say, here we're roughly 2 years later, your command team relationship then versus now, with and we'll get into in a little bit kind of everything you guys have been through in the last 2 years, pretty unprecedented. But how would you say it's changed or kind of maintained steady? Or
oh no, it's certainly changed. It's matured. It's grown. When you're starting out, you're sniffing each other around. You're trying to figure each other out, strengths, weaknesses. Now, let's face it, he and I spend more of our waking day together than we do with our family members.
Right.
So we know each other's every move. 99 times out of 100, we know how they're going to each other are going to react. And I mentioned this to Jamie during his farewell on Friday night, but kind of his gift to me as I prepare to leave the Liberty Wing is finally getting to appreciate and experience how great a command team can be.
Right. Awesome.
I think for me, the biggest thing that you try when you come into a job like this is, first off, what's the boss value, and how does he value to receive that information? So I think that's the hardest thing about trying to figure out a new relationship is we've been in the Air Force for a long time, right? And we kind of know what right looks like. But we all have our own internal things about how do I want to receive information, how do I want you to present it, and then what I want you to do with the information, right? And so a lot of times you got to figure out, hey, when the boss says, hey, Jamie, you got this? What does you got this mean, right? Does he say, go do this? Or does he need some feedback that, hey, it was done, and so you go through those learning curves, but you very quickly learn each other. And then I think we have a lot of shared values. We have a lot of things that when we know what right looks like, we know what that looks like kind of together. There wasn't a whole lot of learning that. I think we both, and we've said it multiple times, right? We love airmen. This mission will get to you if you let it. But if we could figure out how to connect airmen with each other in the mission, then that was a win.
Well, and I will say from a member of the wing perspective, you guys as a whole have absolutely been able to do that. It's, and I'm not just speaking for me. This is kind of, you can feel it throughout the wing, the synergy that you guys have had as, and I was lucky enough to come in a couple months after you guys became a team, but I felt it the whole time. The way, especially for a very busy overseas fighter wing, my goodness, the airmen are, proud to be here. They're proud to be a part of what they're doing. And you guys can just feel that team energy. So, and I had to actually even, it's a good transition into this next topic is really leading in unprecedented times. And, Chief, you said it starts with making the airmen feel welcome and part of the mission and really giving them, and through, we had 2 years of COVID command, all the challenges and lessons learned, takeaways, the Afghan evacuation, Russian invasion of Ukraine, getting F-35s, crushing that IOR timeline, and saying goodbye to, to the C's and D's to the Eagle. if your wing hadn't, been fully invested in the synergy you guys had, I think it could have went not as great as it really did. Really, almost seamless. Do you guys want to share with us some of your thoughts on just, the sheer number of kind of unprecedented things that happened in your time as a team? And do you think that how well you worked as a team really got you through some of those?
Well, there's no doubt that we were a solid team early on, and then you go down at the group level, solid team early on, and then you go down to the squadron level, solid team early on, and I could go down and down through the echelon. I have always believed that you got to put investments into the relationship accounts. That's true at home, but it's certainly true at work. It's even more true when you're in a busy fighter wing overseas, and then busy fighter wing overseas during a global pandemic. You have got to put money into those accounts. And I feel like most of our job was to make sure people were putting money in those accounts.
I think, and the boss, hit it with the group leadership team. I think that as we were trying to lead through some weird stuff, right? All we kept telling people was stay connected, right? And I don't think that if they hadn't done that, that we would have been as successful as this wing was. It got through some craziness, but we kind of all said we're doing it together. So the parts that sucked, it sucked for all of us together. Right. The parts that we celebrate together. Commander-in-Chief trophy, right? That was an amazing party. And I think that you couldn't find an airman who didn't understand how they helped us get there, right? How they were the ones who won that award, because it wasn't us. That award was for the community. And we say that every newcomer, right? The thing that makes Lake King special is the community. We got some cool fighter jets, and we do some really cool stuff. But without the community together, this place will eat you alive.
Yeah, that's agreed. And that was it. I think some airmen are very excited to get here. They're like, oh, they want to live overseas, and then others are. It's a little bit daunting because it is. You got 35s, you got Strike Eagles. We did have Eagles, so you have. For quite a while, 3 different fighter aircraft, and then not to mention other people's aircraft coming. I think we had 6 fighter squadrons active on the base for a while between ours and others, and deployed to how many locations?
People always want to come here.
Yeah.
You're right. Just in the month of February, we were operating 48 fighter wing assigned fighters, as well as the one we were care and feeding for from Seymour Johnson, out of 6 locations simultaneously. And we did it, and our airmen delivered. Now, certainly it was not easy, but it looked easy. And the reason it looked easy is because the team that we have here. When an airman looks you in the eye and say, I got this, sir, I got this, ma'am, you can take that to the bank because they're going to deliver. And it's our job to make sure they are supported, to make sure they have the resourcing they need, to make sure they get, we fight for the assignments and the recognition they need, and to get their families what they need.
Yeah. I'll be probably not the first to say it, probably not the last, but I think you guys crushed it as a command team. Or do you guys want to talk about what's next for the Camillettis and the Jamesons?
Sure, happy to do that, but I want to go back to this idea of the pandemic.
Definitely.
Because one of the things that I thought that we did really well throughout the echelons in the wing was to get people to breathe through their nose. It's real easy to hear, hey, this new guidance is coming down, or this new strain is coming here. And, and public opinion wants to go turn that boat rudder real quick. And we, and all the leaders within the wing, were like, hey, breathe through your nose. Let's see what it actually is. Let's see what guidance is from the U.S. Let's see what guidance is from the UK. Let's see what makes sense for our community, what decision space that we do have. I will forever be sending Christmas cards to our public health officer and our attorney teams,
okay.
our legal teams, for helping us find that space. But it'd be real easy to overreact. Right. And as a general statement, you don't need a pandemic for people to overreact. It's easy to overreact all the time.
Yeah, true. And I mean, and I think about that. We did have, you know, compared to some stateside wings, you know, right? We have, you know, the DoD guidance. We have, you know, the host nation guidance, and you know, to follow all at the same time. And then a little bit different than even mainland Europe. You know, kind of literally up here on an island. So that's, and I think some of us that, you know, were fortunate enough to be, you know, as in the room, as we say, when those decisions were being made, it was not easy. I mean, it was evident in most of the leaders around the base, the faces, just the, you know, am I doing the right thing for the airmen? Am I doing the right thing, you know, by the Air Force, by the DoD? Am I doing the right thing by the host nation? Like,
we were
just can't imagine.
Thankful for the opportunity to be here to help lead the community through that, though. I'm certainly sure of that.
I think it goes back to what we already said, right? The whole thing was, okay, we're all going to go through this together. Parts are going to be awful. We'll get through that. But if we stay together, we at least have each other, right? And that's what we try to do. Is we're inside the wire. We can control what we can control. Let's do it together. You know, and that was kids, the spouses. I don't know how many times, you know, the boss said the two demographics he was most worried about through the pandemic were our single airmen, who were stuck in a dorm room and by UK law couldn't associate with anybody else. They could go to work and back into their dorm room. And then the second were our spouses. We at least got to go to work and talk to each other. The kids got to go to school, but our spouses sent us off to work, sent the kids off to school.
Right.
We're stuck in the houses.
Yeah, just that small, you know, support bubble is what they called it.
So we had to find ways to make sure they all stayed connected to other people, right? Because without connectedness, it gets real lonely real fast.
Right.
And every problem you have in your life gets amplified. You know, so that's what I appreciate about the bosses, just perspective. And then the leadership teams at every echelon taking that on and going, this is what we're going to do. We're doing it together. You know, and so that's what I'm most proud of, and was happy to be here during the craziness.
I think it made a huge difference, and you know, particularly for families that live out on the economy and not on base. You know, at least here on base, a lot of families had, you know, neighbors or close by. You know, if nothing else, they can talk, you know, over the fence or, you know, in the front yard. But you know, you think about some of those 1-2 offs out, you know, on the outskirts and not even real close to base. It's hard for me to, you know, as a base resident to even imagine. And I mean, I was thankful that while teleworking is great, I think it was great for a lot of the single airmen to be able to go into work, because it wasn't like, you know, some of the stateside bases still teleworking, and they're kind of reaching out to us for advice, like, hey, how did you get everybody, you know, kind of jazzed up to get back into the office? And the answer was like, well, that was the relief for us, was coming into work, you know, and having a little bit of human interaction. And so,
well,
I mean,
even to
hats
that
off
point,
to you guys.
you know, when the pandemic first kicked off in, you know, April, March of 2020, all the schools went virtual. And I can't speak to anyone else's household, but the virtual learning in the Camilletti household was a hot mess.
Right, yeah.
So we were, I was singularly focused of keeping those schools open come August of 2020. And kudos to now Brigadier General Marshall, my predecessor in this seat. When I was EOG, and I said, hey, boss, I need to start working these things now. He gave me the leash to do so. We had a strong coalition of willing, both certainly within the command, DODIA, but our host nation partners as well. So and the families. Yeah. So that was great.
And on that too, that is huge. The schools in back open, because same, I didn't know how much I forgot about middle school and high school math. That could be real humbling, real fast. So yeah, hats off for that. But if you want to touch on real quick with getting back into the schools, the jabs, the vaccines for teachers. I know.
Great question. So in the summer of 2020, the host nation was like, hey, we're going to keep calm, carry on. Kids are going to school. We need it for all these reasons. It's our moral obligation, keep the kids in school. We need the parents available to work, all the things. It's like, hey, great, we're going to hitch our wagon to that horse. And then New Year's rolls around and the infection rates are higher, like we're shutting the schools. And I'm like, oh boy. And I made, and we had just, this is the week before Christmas and New Year's actually. We had just received, I don't know, 1,300 jabs on base or something like that. And I made a couple calls to the host nation, to Dodia. Certainly Jamie and I and the group commanders discussed. And I called my leadership in Ramstein, and they had, the Department of Defense had a hierarchy of who gets the first jab, first responders, and then down. And out down here were the school teachers in Dodia. I said, hey, boss, this is what I want to do unless you tell me no, but I'm going to take them and offer them up top. He didn't hesitate. He said, move out.
Nice.
That was both General Regan and now Lieutenant General Reed.
Oh, okay.
And it was great. But that was only part of it. Had to get the host nation on board, and they were. And then I wasn't certain what the take rates would be from our Dodia teammates. I thought, I was hoping half.
Yeah, they get a say in jabbed or not.
I was hoping half. It was well over 90%. And when we had those numbers, it was easy to say, hey, I know what all the guidance is, both U.S. and U.K., but because of this, no one batted an eye about us keeping the schools open. So in fact, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of in my entire Air Force career.
Yeah.
Because it meant so much to
And
our
rightfully
community.
so, yeah.
It meant so much to our ability to generate mission. I mean, while that was going on, we were moving out on agile combat employment.
Yeah.
We were
Didn't miss a beat.
we were shooting missiles here in Europe. We'd never done that before. Dropping lives, doing large force flying exercises, and all the other things. Very, very proud of that.
Yeah. So, and again, rightfully so, because that's, I mean, it's great for the kids, but like I said, that's one less thing off of the family's minds. If the kids are in class or in school, that's, they don't need to stay on to facilitate that.
If the schools aren't open, I now have a readiness problem.
Right.
You know?
Perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know that I don't know how many, I mean, obviously overseas we deal with that a little bit more, but I don't know how many other wing commanders and command teams had to go through that same challenge. And, or ever were even prepared to, never thought in a million years that would be a challenge they'd face.
I just don't think that most of them had the battle space to actually maneuver in it, right? If you're in the States, you don't get to decide whether public schools stay open, right?
Yeah.
You don't get that option. Certainly in other countries across Europe we didn't. But it would have been easy for us to just go, okay, kids are out of school, right? But that wasn't what this team
You guys found solutions, not excuses.
Well, and that's a great point. Hats off to our host nation partners.
Yeah.
The ability and willingness for them to work with the U.S. visiting force is probably higher here than what I've been told from any one of my counterparts in other locations. And that's not to say those aren't great teammates of host nations as well, but we really had a lot of leash here to do what we needed for our community and our mission.
If you guys had like one more week or one more month together, you guys, what would you go after? What do you think? Or just keep on the same path? One more day in the
thought
ring.
about that one.
Well, I know the ones we haven't seen to completion yet. Very happy with Freedom Field. Kudos to Landon Phillips' team, the mission support group, and everyone that made that happen. You can see just in the few weeks that we've had it, man, there's been a lot of activity out there, and I see more and more activity happening. Weather's a little nicer now, but the word's spreading. Hey, man, this is cool.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we were walking around there, walking through mud. I mean, my first 2 years here, I didn't even know that was on base. I thought it was off base.
Same, my house is right there. It was all just, it was fences and connexes for about the first year.
So along those lines, the two that we're looking forward to get done in the next year, our integrated resilience campus, we're really looking our center, really looking forward to that. And then 2 years from now, wish it was sooner, but our community center, we're really excited about that. It should be late spring of 2024. And then I'll pass this one off to Brigadier General Campo. Sir, we need to get a pool here sometime. I've
been managing expectations. I said success will look like 7 to 8 years from now. So, but it
There
would
you
be
go.
nice
That's
to
a good
get a pool.
estimate.
Those are the big rocks. But you know, we have small battles and victories and losses every day. I don't know, Jamie, anything?
I can't think of anything that we really were trying to get after that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
Like you said, we lost some battles, which is to be expected, right? If we win them all, then the other team's not fighting, right?
Oh, we're not trying hard enough.
Right.
Yeah, and so I don't know that there's a whole lot that I could think of. Like I said, the community center, we're really excited about it, and then it's just going to take longer than we wanted, you know. But I saw newcomers this morning. We said the same thing about Freedom Field. That concept
True.
came 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and it opened this April, right? So the fact that we have something for 2 years, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. You just kind of want to see, you know, the
Right.
ideas come to fruition, and I think that's the only. I think we're the only ones disappointed about not being able to see it, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that you both picked, you know, family and airmen related, because again, you know, as we know here, that the mission keeps churning, but you know, just kind of a testament. And on this, I did want to touch on this because I thought it was kind of an interesting, you know, dynamic and kind of a really an I hate to use the word underserved, but you guys were both, at least at one time or in some way, shape, or form, a mill-to-mill family. And I've always said, I mean, you could write a sitcom about, you know, a mill-to-mill household and just, you know, all the challenges and, you know, funny and dramatic that can come along with that. But is that correct? You guys both at least at one time?
Say what?
You guys at least were at one time. Do you guys want to
absolutely.
talk a little bit about that?
Happy to talk about it. I would say that you could write a sitcom on every family,
True.
whether they're mill to mill or not. So that's not taking anything away from our single mill families. But a mill to mill family does have certain unique challenges, right? Thankfully, Meredith and I made decisions when we were mill to mill. We didn't have, when she was active duty, we didn't have any children. But even that alone was difficult. Hey, are we going to get the same base? You know,
Right.
we're going to do the things. And then she made the decision to enter the reserves, which she's still a reservist, as I think you know, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah.
But then, you know, you got a kid, you got a second kid, and now you're managing the PCS. Is like, well, hey, I got to go do a drill weekend. I'm like, cool, I'll babysit the kids. It's not
Right.
babysitting if they're
Right,
your own kids.
yes.
Come on,
I was
it's not
good- yeah.
babysitting if your own kids.
I was trying not to show my
No.
my
I was
cringy face.
I said it jokingly
I know.
because hopefully Meredith will hear this and just give me a look across the room.
It is pretty much all mom's pet peeve.
Yeah. But you know, even if you're not mill to mill, you know, if you got two working parents,
Right.
or you got one working parent and you're a single parent, or you got one working parent and one's somewhere or sick, you know, it's just the challenges of modern life are significantly more burdensome than what they were a couple decades ago.
Right.
And then you factor on the uncertainty of a military lifestyle. Man, that's why we work. Again, we said some family stuff here a second ago, right? Doesn't mean that we think this is a jobs program.
Right.
The 48 Fighter Wing, RAF Lake and Heath exists to own the skies.
Right.
We do a lot of other things, but we own the skies for America, for our NATO partners and allies. That's what we do. But at our level, everyone's getting after mission. Everyone's jobbing it. So we had to take the step back to look after the airmen, to look after the families. Oh, Jamie, how about your mill to mill?
Yeah, so ours didn't last long because just the two different career fields we had, we were going to be constantly deployed. I mean, even we dated for 4 years. We deployed together 3 times, and you know, so it's, you know, but we dated for 4 years because we were always deployed.
No way to
There was
solidify
no
your
time to actually
decision.
get married, right? And so Jessica says, you know, she decided to separate because she loved me more than her Air Force career, and we would just never be together, right? So I think we made the right decision as we looked at our particular situation. There was no way it was going to work for us. We were going to be stuck to about 4 or 5 bases, and we we're going to spend 6 months in the desert and 6 months home. And if you want to start a family, it's really hard,
Right.
you know. And of course, we wanted to have kids, and Wyatt, you know, 13 now. That, you know, she doesn't look back on it. She doesn't regret it. We don't, as a family, regret it, and we've had a great career, you know. So I applaud mill-to-mill families who are able to do it. long term. I know multiple chief to chiefs. I don't know how they did it their whole career, because I certainly wasn't able. My wife could have done it 100%. She would have drugged me along, but I would have been lost.
Right.
100% would have been lost.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I like you said, sir. It's not to take away from any of our families. I thought it was just an interesting kind of demographic fact, and I've rarely, I think, maybe had one or two other commanders and one or two other command chiefs that, but never both at the same time. So I just thought that was interesting. They experienced it.
I think the prevalence of mill to mill is, I mean, it's exponentially increasing. You know,
Agreed.
and even if they're not at a given snapshot in time, still mill to mill, like you look at the number of couples where one was previous military and one is currently military, like, I mean, I couldn't tell you. My gut tells me it's about a third.
It might be. I think,
You know,
I think you're right. I think it's
I look to
increasing.
where we
They're
are
making it
now
easier.
to where when we entered in the 90s, it's
Yeah.
much higher now.
The Air Force is making the options, a lot more available to. We'll say that. And with that, we'll end it here. I know you guys. Again, it's the the bittersweet, at least for us, the last few weeks, and you got a lot to attend to. But honestly, thank you both. I mean, for 2 outstanding years. Your leadership, your friendship across the wing, and for being here and being guests on our new Liberty by Trade podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to top this one.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing assignment, so it's going to be hard to top it, but we'll try.
Hey, Kevin, appreciate you and the team for doing this, and it's been our pleasure to be a part of this community for the past few years.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. Thank you both. Good.